Surviving and returning with honor is the mission when an airman goes down behind enemy lines. Airmen are trained to fight the enemy at all costs. But what if that enemy isn't a person? Not some insurgent or enemy soldier, but the actual environment itself. Frostbite, hypothermia, starvation. To learn how to fight these enemies, airmen are sent to Arctic Survival School. The will to survive is an instinct, but the art of survival must be taught. For nearly 70 years, the U.S. military has turned to the Air Force's Arctic Survival School near Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska to learn how to stay alive in one of the harshest environments on Earth.
Arctic Survival is the oldest ATC course in the history of the Air Force.
School's been in operation continuously since 1946.
And it is a very standardized course. I mean, if you look at the syllabus from today versus back when they started, a lot of it's going to be very similar, if not the same, because the art of survival in Alaska doesn't change a whole lot.
Let's try to consolidate all our urine into one spot. That way we don't have to worry about drinking yellow snow.
It works. We teach it because it's so effective.
Air crews fly over every kind of terrain on the planet, and they need to know what they'll be up against if they ever go down. The Arctic presents a unique set of challenges.
You just egressed and you're out there. You're floating to the earth and all you see is thousands upon thousands of miles of nothingness, just trees and snow. It's going to cause you to second guess yourself. It's going to cause you to be a little bit nervous, and those feelings are perfectly normal. You're not being a pansy, you're being realistic, and that's probably the hardest thing for people, is that initial crap. I'm on the ground by myself in the middle of nowhere. What are you going to do to make it through the night? What are you going to do to make it through the next 48 hours?
Keeping their wits about them is the first step to making it back home alive, so the students learn to expect and deal with that fear of isolation. The second step is not freezing to death. In Alaska, the average temperature during the winter is 17 degrees below zero. Frostbite can form in less than 15 minutes. This bitter, unyielding cold will kill a person long before thirst or hunger will. Right now, their lives depend on being able to find firewood and build a fire.
Okay. And continue to do
a lot of people will quit long before they physically would have expired, just because it is so difficult, challenging, and fundamentally miserable to endure.
People get crazy. You just got to get your mind right, figure out what's important at the time, and remember that there's always, a reason to be productive and to keep moving.
Although these airmen can't expect to have many tools or supplies in the unlikely event they become stranded in the frozen wilderness, staying warm is the key to making sure they can still make use of their greatest asset, their minds. It's time to figure out ways to use their surroundings to their advantage. As it turns out, snow can be one of the most versatile tools at their disposal.
Most people would look at snow and say, hey, that's cold. What am I going to use it for? If I touch it, I'm going to get cold. If I get it on me, it's going to cause me to get wet.
Using the same fire they just made to warm themselves, they can now gather snow to melt and turn into drinking water. And believe it or not, freezing cold snow can even be used for warmth.
By creating a small structure, covering it with a man-made or natural material, you can then pile a minimum of 8 inches of snow on top of that shelter, scrape underneath, obviously, before you build the shelter, down to bare mineral soil, put some sort of plug, usually snow, that you've packed in a bag in parachute to seal off that door, and using this thing that most people would consider harsh or damning in a survival situation, you've now created a thermalized shelter.
MTV Cribs right here.
Yeah. This is my crib. Awesome.
Running around to gather wood, dig up snow, and build a shelter is quickly burning through their energy reserves. The students have taken care of securing warmth and water. Now they can turn their attention to finding food.
We went out there and set out about 18 snares, and one of them just so happened to catch a rabbit, which is huge because the benefit of food out here for a survivor is immense. I mean, they have to have those calories, they have to have some energy to be able to do the day-to-day tasks.
You don't really realize where your food is coming from. You know, you just know you pay money, you swipe a card, and you get your food. But there's a lot of people that don't know how to survive on their own. They don't know how to hunt, they don't know how to fish, they don't know what kind of plants are edible and whatnot.
Does it have, you know, little spikes, little hairs on it? What are some other poisonous characteristics?
Now that they've tackled the immediate threats to their survival, the airmen need to figure out a way to get home. Chances are the Air Force already knows a plane has gone down and has a rescue team on the way. But how does someone on the ground signal for help? Even with all our modern communications technology, all bets are off out here in the frozen wild.
They think, hey, I'm just going to get on my radio and make a call and I'll be out of here in a few hours. Well, what if you lose that radio? You know, what if that piece of equipment doesn't work? So it can be pretty frustrating, because without that form of communication, without that ability to get on that radio and talk to that airborne asset, whoever it may be, we're left with pretty primitive means of getting rescued. We're left with a ground-to-air signal, you know, a V, something that's going to signify to someone in an aircraft that I need to get out of here, I need help, I need to get picked up.
The examples of just the power of human creativity to manufacture items that are useful for survival and preservation of life that really amount to just creative thought and ingenuity and how they applied that. And that's probably the neatest thing to see.
We need to give them the mindset of, hey, you can really do this. But the difference between the strong and the weak is those people that push through. It's the people that can still keep going when their feet are cold, can still keep going when they're tired, when they're hungry, when they're thirsty. Those people that push through are going to be the real survivors. They deserve the highest quality of training that I can possibly give them. And that's something that makes me proud, is the fact that if something ever happens to them, I know that what I taught them is and could very well be the difference between life and death.